Welcome 8th grade to your third and final unit, graphic design. This is my absolute favorite unit. I love using the program that you're going to learn about. Many of you actually already have it, which is Autodesk Sketchbook. It's an amazing free application for your iPad that allows you to do anything any graphic designer would need to do. All right, so this project, as we move forward, is going to focus on each one of you creating an original graphic design, an original advertisement, where you are going to be selling a consumer product, whether it's a shoe, it's clothing, it's sports equipment, a video game, anything that you can buy in the store on Amazon, you can create an advertisement for. And this PowerPoint, these slides are going to help show you all the lesson vocabulary, the lesson steps, and procedures. Okay, moving forward. So your lesson objectives are to compare and contrast technologies used for digital media throughout time. We're going to be looking at that in the next few slides to see how the technologies have changed. Then you're going to understand that art is presented and experienced differently based on the technology used. Lastly, we're going to plan and create a graphic design using visual organizational strategies that clearly communicates information or ideas using digital media technology. And the information and ideas you will be presenting is specifically how to sell or to entice a buyer to want to buy your product. All right, moving forward. Graphic design, let me move myself here. Graphic design is the art of digitally combining text and images. So these are the same images as the first slide. You can see how graphic design can combine imagery and text, patterns and various designs. There's an infinite amount of ways to design anything, and the same goes for doing it graphically on the computer. All right, my video is somewhere here hiding amongst the history of graphic design. So these are a bunch of images that represent graphic design throughout time, and we are going to learn about that. All right, so lithography, this was started in the 1760s. It's a method of printing that involves inking your design into a stone or metal surface and then transferring it to a sheet of paper. This obviously was a lot of work, but this innovation also gave way to chromolithography, which is simply lithography but without the colored prints. So it was a lot of work to create the print, but then once you have the print, you can ink it over and over again and use it an infinite amount of times to create the same image instead of having to draw it over and over again. Art Nouveau in the 1890s. Art Nouveau was a global design movement that heavily influenced architecture, fashion, and graphic design in the late 19th century. Art Nouveau is characterized by sinuous lines and flowing organic shapes based on plant forms. So this is over 100 years later. You can see how the design has changed already, where it's more focused on the architecture and fashion of the times. Then in 1947, you have the corporate logos. So down here, you have the IBM logo at the bottom right. Paul Rand refined advertising by using words and pictures fused into one symbol. So before this, they had a whole scene with the text explaining everything. Now everything just combined into one symbol. He helped some of America's biggest corporations shape their brand identities with logos such as IBM, UPS, ABC, and American Express. These are all symbols that many of us have probably already seen or easily would recognize. Then going into the 1970s, you had postmodernism. Postmodern designs often questioned authority, flipped ideas on their heads, and approached all that came before with skepticism and irony. In the history of graphic design, this movement is often associated with others such as conceptualism and pop art. So basically, postmodernism basically challenged and questioned everything that came before it, and basically took what we thought we knew and flipped that on its head and changed the script. So that was the intent of postmodernism design. Then we have digital tools in the 1990s. So in the late 20th century, digital tools took the pencils and paintbrushes from our hands and provided new revolutionary ways of creating and distributing graphic designs. Photoshop, for example, launched in 1990 as a graphics editing platform that anyone could use to build professional grade designs. More rudimentary programs like Microsoft Paint also made graphic art accessible to the masses. So Photoshop is one of the biggest graphic design programs out there that there is. And you can see over to the left, that's actually how it started with these basic icons. And almost all these icons, actually, I think I recognize now that it seems that they use the same icons throughout time. They haven't really changed much, just the capabilities of them have changed. The icons are still the same. And that's the neat thing about this project, is that all the tools and icons you're going to learn about are basically transferable from program to program. Lastly, graphic design in 2020, that's right now, one, meaning a person, could argue that graphic design is more prevalent in our lives than ever before. Graphics greet us on every social network, mobile app, and web page, and marketers and businesses use design every day to grow their brands and forge connections with audiences across the world. All right, moving on. How have technologies changed the way artwork is presented and experienced? So that last slide mentioning how basically it's accessible to us no matter where we go, whether we have our phones on us, we're on the computer, or we're walking down the street with a billboard. Nowadays, advertisements are found everywhere with the flip of a finger on your phone, or you just turn your head to see it on a billboard, turn on the TV, they're on our commercials. Back in the day, you had to actually go to a physical place to find it, and nowadays we're just surrounded by them everywhere. So as time went on, advertisements became more prevalent. All right, target audience. So this is very important to our graphic design project. When you think of your consumer product, what you're going to make, you need to think of your target audience. Who are you selling to? So for example, if I'm making an advertisement for orthopedic shoes, for someone who's got, sore feet, that might be more sold to, someone in the older population, whereas someone who wants an athletic running shoe might be a younger generation who wants to focus more on being fit and healthy than being comfortable. So you want to think of your target audience. That's a specific group of people that an advertisement is aimed towards. So if I'm focusing on selling to these people here, I want to make sure I understand what their likes and dislikes are, what kind of things they like to do at their age. So how does the target audience affect the design choices of a graphic designer's advertisement? Basically, you want to analyze who they are, get their behavioral information, the geographic information, where they live, how they think, and then basically you want to create a plan, a strategy as to how to sell that to them. So you want to focus on all those factors when trying to create an advertisement or sell a product. All right, communication. Communication is the process of sending and receiving information. It's not just talking and texting. There's other ways to do it. And an advertisement. How do artists and designers create works of art or design that effectively communicate information or ideas? So graphic designers, and ideas are very complex, and even the simplest ones can be very complex in how they are presented. So you can present them through combining different colors, placements, sizes, text. There's just so many different ways to get this idea across, but you need to find you need to organize these ideas, these concepts in a way that's very clear to the viewer and takes this idea and makes it clear to everyone. All right, so layering. This is really important when creating a graphic design digitally. Layering is the process of adding one plane over another plane, and obviously I don't mean airplanes, I mean the surface. So you can see in this top left image where it says layer 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the images below it, how you can start with a rough loose sketch, and then the layer above it, there's color, and then the other layer there's the actual line details. So layering allows you to make different copies of a line drawing and then add color and line detail, and then you can fuse them all together. So it allows you to basically make mistakes on one thing, but then always be able to go back to the original and make copies and duplicates and additions to that. All right. So how is layering an effective technique to creating a graphic design? So basically, like I said, you can have your loose sketch and your line details on different planes, on different layers, but then you put a layer on top and draw on top of it, and then you can hide the other layer as if it was never there. So basically you're building upon different planes to create the same final product without having to jump from paper to paper to paper. It's all on the same screen, all in the same format. Alright, so you can see this figure here where the underdrawings are prevalent, but then they did a second layer over top to add all these fine line details. Then after that, they would then add a third layer over top and then add the color, and then maybe even a fourth layer to add light and shadow and other details, and maybe even a fifth layer to add the background. And then once it's all done, you can fuse it all together, but of course that would be your final product. You want to wait until you know you're completely done. Digital art is art that uses digital technology. It's a very simple, basic definition. And here you have someone using digital technology, which seems to be a pretty nice size pad there he's using to work on this image. Oh, here we go, moving my image again. Question, how have new technologies changed how we can create and access digital art? Nowadays we have laptops, you have computers, iPads, phones, and all these programs can be downloaded, so anybody can easily access these programs. I mean, I actually found the Sketchbook app and introduced it to the district last year. It just shows how easy it is to find these programs so that we can, really kind of step into the new age of art and where it's going and familiarize ourselves with these tools and these concepts. So it's everywhere. All right, visual weight or importance is emphasis. So here we have two images. They're video game consoles, PlayStation, Xbox. I think some of you guys may really enjoy these. When you emphasize something, it has visual weight, meaning the placement, the size, the color, all these things can make something more important. If I were to raise my voice and scream right now, I'd be emphasizing my voice, but I'd probably scare a bunch of you away from this video. But in these images, the designers have made the objects big. They made them in the center. It's very obvious what they're selling, and that's their focal point. It's what they want us to see first is their product. Excuse me, so they did a very good job emphasizing that. All right, question, how do graphic designers emphasize their product? I basically just said that about size, placement, color. You notice that the toothbrush here and the shoe to the right, neither of them are small in the bottom corner hiding. They are the biggest object in the center. They even each have elements around them where the shoe has this, looks like it's breaking through glass or cement, and then here you have like almost the motion of the fresh mints flying around the toothbrush. So even other elements that really narrow your eye into that object as well to create that focal point. So size, color, placement, all help with that. Resolution is the measure of quality of printed graphics, and being that we're dealing with graphic design, this is a very important definition to know. Resolution is expressed specifically in dots per inch. So if you've ever seen something like this over here, we have a number of DPI. The higher the DPI, the higher the resolution, the quality. So if you've ever tried to click on an image on Google or on the internet in general, and the image is very granulated like this, that means it has a low DPI. You always want to search at the bottom of the picture before you click on it if it has a high DPI, so that you can have a high resolution image to use for whatever you're using it for. All right, question, how does digital artwork's resolution affect how the message is conveyed to the viewer? Obviously, what's clearer in vision is going to be clearer for us to see and understand. So here I can see this sheep much more clearly than this over here. So the idea of the sheep and the design of the image is much more clearer because the pixelation is not distorting anything. So the resolution will affect whether the image is distorted or not. Unity. Unity is a pretty abstract word. It's kind of hard to wrap your head around. It's the elements of design working together. So when people are unified, we all work together for the same cause. And art, it's very similar. You have basically unity expresses all the elements in your work working towards the same goal. It has the same theme. I always like to think of unity as having a theme. So art that is a consistent theme is unified, whereas an art that may have multiple themes and get confusing and lost is not very well unified. So moving here to the next question, how does Unity create a theme in graphic design advertisements? You can see how the focus of this Nike image is the bottom sole of the shoe and the patterns and every symbol and shape ties into that pattern, and it's selling a shoe, so everything is the theme of a shoe, and it's the focus of the bottom of the shoe. And then here, live on the Coke side of life, it's trying to emphasize loving Coke. And this video is about to end. I'm going to start a second video.